Chirohustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. Before we dive into this powerful episode, please remember to subscribe to our channels and to give us a 5-star rating on iTunes to continue hustling. This episode is sponsored by Imaging Services, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Moguls, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, New Patients in a Box, the Influencer Authority Podcast Training, Mango Voice, Community Healthcare Resources, Life Chiropractic College West, and MSculpt. Let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 463 of the Chirohustle podcast. I am your producer, Luke Millette, and here's your host, James Chester.
So today we had the opportunity of interviewing Perry Kamel, and if you want to hear the story about making a better world and a better place by making a better life one at a time, stay tuned. Now, welcome back. This is another episode of the Chirohustle podcast, and yes, we are live now. This is episode 463. I have Perry, just make sure I say the last name properly.
Kamel.
I have Perry Kamel on. I just had the faux pas of the year, doing a journalistic approach and not asking the person's name before the live show. So my apologies. But I think we're going to have a lot of fun today. We're going to talk a lot about your product, the DNA Vibe. And we're going to talk technology. We're going to lay down some offers for people if they are curious about the product and how they can get involved with you and support you in what you're doing. I love a lot of the process that I've seen within the product. I love your mind around innovation and technology and some of the things you've done historically to be a pioneer with branding and product development. But before we get into this one, I just want to let people know a little bit about our why over here at Chirohustle. Why do we do what we do? Freedom of speech, number one. I think that's a really important thing. This gives people a platform to talk about what matters to them. I was once asked, have we ever not released somebody's episode because they said something I didn't like? And no, we've never not released somebody's show because they said something that we didn't like. But we have, the only time we've ever not produced somebody's show is if it was not good audio. So there's been instances where the audio was bad and we've had to re-record. But the reason I say this is because you always have to cover your tracks, because we do protect freedom of speech, but we want people to have the opportunity to have that on this platform. Family health is important to us, and family freedom is really important to us. So having people on the show that actually have something to say about the future of healthcare really matters, and having an unbiased approach from people that are not into pills, potions, or lotions. So that's also really important to make a stand for. And then within the show, we also protect the sacred trust. It's BJ Palmer's last words. If you don't know what the sacred trust is, go to your favorite search engine and search for BJ Palmer's sacred trust. You're going to learn a whole bunch more about chiropractic than what you ever thought you could imagine. And then we do support subluxation-based chiropractors. We believe that you should check, detect, and correct vertebral subluxations from first breath to last breath. And that when somebody gets adjusted, it does connect man or woman, the spiritual, to man or woman, the physical. And that's universal intelligence and innate intelligence. And we believe both those reside within our bodies. So with that being said, I give you guys the 411 on chiropractic science, freedom of speech, and family health freedom. So, Perry, welcome to the show.
James, it's great to be here. I've been looking forward to this for a while since we first met. So
yeah, I mean, we were like two sparks that just like caught a flame, and we talked for a good hour at least. Our first time we were able to connect, and then we connected 2 to 3 more times at the Colorado Chiropractic Association event. I saw you there supporting your brand, the DNA Vibe, and I was really curious about what you guys were up to. So I came over and met you and your wife.
That's right. And it was a spark. I don't think we stopped talking for that entire hour and a half.
No.
A lot of shared interests, a lot of shared values, and shared purpose.
Well, that's one of the things that we like to do on the show is we like to find great character and be able to share stories. And you told me a really interesting story how you got into chiropractic. and how it's helped improve your quality of life. So maybe we can just jump right in like my normal question set and just tell people your chiropractic story and how you got into the profession.
Yeah, I'd say it's an understatement to suggest it improved my life. I think it quite literally saved my life. As we were talking about before going live, about 25 years ago, my wife bought me a beautiful pair of bike shoes for Christmas, the clickety clickety shoes. And I was so excited. I've always been an athlete. I've always been a triathlete, very active life. I immediately put the bike shoes on and I'm walking in the house and we had a hardwood floor. And before I knew it, I'm like, hey, honey, take a look at these shoes. And I slipped up, went up in the air, came crashing down. I hit on some tile stairs and I hit so hard I shattered the tiles. That's amazing. Just get your head around that. Um, Ironically, I was kind of taken to the hospital because of shoulder pain, but when I got to the hospital, they X-rayed me and they caught a glimpse of my neck, and they just tag teamed me, strapped me to a board, rushed me to an emergency MRI. Long story short, the next day the doctor called my wife and I both in for a consultation, and I knew there was trouble. Like, why call my wife in, right? And it also was on a Saturday. Like, they don't normally do office hours on a Saturday. He called me in, and long story short, he said, "I hate to break this to you, but you've got 5 years to live. You're going to die, and if anything, you're going to wish you died sooner," because he described how my life would degenerate, how I would lose feeling and function. Eventually, it would get uglier. And you could just use your imagination of what happens when you lose body control. And I just remember being so stunned, like, wow, that's terrible. But I went to chiropractic, and through a series of very gentle micro adjustment techniques and gentle, modest traction and a long-term plan, I was able to come back from that. 20 years ago, I was supposed to be dead. Here I am, 25 years later. I'm living a very active life. I play a mean game of tennis. I can take out most professionals that I've played. So I'm very grateful for that. But I'm a big fan, a big believer in chiropractic. I've had years and years and years of experience with it, and it's done wonders for me.
Well, I appreciate you saying the things you do, and I believe at the end of my episodes I like to ask people a miracle story, and I think we're going to go Pulp Fiction style on this one. We're gonna finish, or we're gonna start with the end and go in reverse order a little bit. But I do think that story is pretty powerful, because there's a lot of people out there that don't get a chance to ever tell their miracle story or their advocacy for the profession. And me meeting you at a specific chiropractic event, that was pretty powerful to see that you're a part of that tribe, and you're looking to help practitioners with your product. So I think the next segue we should do is kind of talk about the technology and how you're supporting chiropractic with your brand.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, our technology, it's kind of hard to get this across in a brief sentence. Light therapy has been around for almost 70 years. I mean, think about that. That's staggering. The first laser was invented in 1962. It happened to be a helium neon red laser. People discovered it had positive biological effects. Hair grows, wounds heal, collagen develops. So the first approved products came out in the 60s, 1967, I think it was. People made the classic human error. They do this all the time. It's hilarious to me. They said, oh, red light is good, therefore more red light must be better, without really understanding the biological mechanisms of how it works. I will say, and I'll try to keep this pretty brief, but I think it's really important to understand, like, light therapy is for real. But for the 70 years almost, I would argue, based on our research, that we have not found a single provider of light therapy technology that truly understands how it works. We've read thousands of research papers that describe the effects and how it works. One reason I can tell you with a degree of authority that those are wrong is because almost all of them talk in terms of symptomatic effects. Light therapy works by increasing blood flow. Oh, really? Well, how does it increase blood flow? Why does it increase blood flow? Light therapy works by stimulating the mitochondria. Oh, really? Well, why does it stimulate the mitochondria? By the way, I've read stories about how that's supposed to happen, which are pretty comical. I told my wife all the time, someday you'll see me do a stand-up comedy routine in Las Vegas on this topic. But anyway, so what we did about 7 years ago is we really wanted to understand scientifically, how does light therapy work, right? How does it stimulate biological processes that deliver favorable outcomes? And there are many: accelerated wound healing, improved joint articulation and health, and so many other benefits. But why? And so, long story short, my founding partner is a professor of genomics and molecular biology. His molecule is the DNA molecule. He's spent a lifetime studying it. He knows more about the DNA molecule than any human being on the planet. My background includes particle and optical physics. So we took a deep dive and said, hey, you know what's really cool is the DNA molecule is basically two interleaved sinusoids, right? So I'm assuming that there's a degree of techiness in the audience. Everybody's had to learn what a sine wave looks like. But let me draw one for you real quick. I'm gonna do this. It's gonna be very, very quick. Here's the sine wave. You might recognize that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Know what a sine wave looks like?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna draw another sine wave, and you've got a DNA double helix, right? So what's cool about that is when matter has a recurring structure, it is susceptible to excitation at the right frequency. I'm not going to go too science on you, okay? This is pretty basic stuff.
I might ask you some stuff a little bit deeper on some of the things you're saying, though.
Okay, I just don't want to get too nerdy, but I can go as nerdy as you want.
Are you familiar with like Hertz frequencies and like frequencies of love and frequencies of ascension and frequencies of like shame and guilt and fear and doubt? And like there's like that threshold. I think it's Stephen Hawking's power versus force.
Listen,
where you can actually have an effect on people at different levels of frequency. Lower levels of frequency have a negative effect on people.
I can talk for hours on this topic. And I'll tell you, there's what we call, when you think of, let me just finish this thought on the DNA double helix. And all matter with a recurring structure is susceptible to excitation. Excitation triggers a state change in matter, and DNA is a binary state system, meaning if you stimulate DNA at the right frequency, it gets excited and it triggers a state change. That state change means it goes from passive to active, right?
Like from being just a regular, just having a regular day to seeing somebody that you love, for instance.
Well, there are
change of state.
Yeah. I can go really, really deep into this, but I think here, let me put it to you this way. I gave a presentation to a very large group of several hundred surgeons. And my first slide had a picture of the DNA molecule. The title of the slide, clever enough, I take full credit. The title was "It's a Sign!" exclamation point. That's a very, very big observation, right? Most people don't take a moment to think what that means. But my next slide, superimposed over that slide, it superimposed a Marconi antenna. The Marconi antenna is a perfect match. The Marconi antenna, for those who don't know, Marconi is the gentleman who invented the radio. And the Marconi antenna is the fundamental shape of all electromagnetic antenna, either in physical structure or impedance structure, electrical load structure. So here we have this aha moment where the DNA molecule is effectively a Marconi antenna. You could spend the rest of the day just imagining the implications of that simple statement. At the surgeon's conference where I was presenting, the moment I superimposed the antenna over the molecule, all the cell phones came out of their pockets and started clicking. People were shocked at that simple revelation. It's almost like, wait a minute, this is not secret. We all know the DNA helix is a sinusoidal structure, but nobody had ever put that together. Because as I mentioned, all matter that has a recurring structure is susceptible to excitation. Well, guess what? The one structure that is not only susceptible to excitation, but optimized for excitation is the sinusoidal structure, right? So long-winded way of saying our DNA molecule structurally is optimized for excitation, right? That's a pretty breathtaking observation. But here's the thing. If you can stimulate it at the right frequency, it gets excited, changes state, and starts expressing. What does DNA do? It restores our body's healthy tissue, right? Put technology aside for a moment, okay? If I take this pen and I stab myself in the arm and I cause an injury, guess what the body does?
It
It
heals.
stimulates DNA expression to help build amino acid chains, build protein chains, trigger the production of ATP to provide fuel for the cells, and the body naturally begins to produce restorative regenerative tissue to replace damaged tissue with healthy tissue. That's what the body does naturally. We all have a natural rate of nominal expression, and when we're under strain or injury, that process naturally accelerates. And all we're doing with our technology is coming alongside and saying, okay, great, let's stimulate that excitation process to do more of what the body's already naturally inclined to do. And that's how we're accelerating recovery and restoration. It's pretty remarkable that the one thing I would say, we call that molecular engagement. We're engaging the body at the molecular level by stimulating excitation, and lo and behold, the body's amplifying its process of healing itself. All other light therapies that there have ever been, and I'm saying this, it's a bold statement, are not molecular engagement, but cellular. And, we've read all the papers, so PhD researchers, when we talk about light therapy as it exists today, it's all cellular. And what that means is the body's tissue, the cells, are absorbing light energy and converting it to thermal and kinetic energy. That's all that's going on. There's a few other, marginal effects, but really that's what's happening. So light therapies to date have all been sort of bright, shiny heating pads that can penetrate a little deeper into the body, which has some positive effects. Like, we actually are not here to badmouth conventional light therapies, but for 70 years, they are all just penetrative heating pads. They have a positive effect, but they're not going to stimulate any regenerative processes. And that's one of the things that really sets our technology apart.
You've made it to Chirohustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is sponsored by Imaging Services, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Moguls, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, New Patients in a Box, the Influencer Authority Podcast Training, Mango Voice, Community Healthcare Resources, Life Chiropractic College West, and Sculpt. Let's hustle.
Yeah, I remember when we were talking back in it was Denver. We were having a conversation about if people should use this in conjunction with like hyperbaric. And I think that when you're talking about exciting the body and the mitochondria and like healing up process, that when you oxygenate and you change state with whatever the product that you're selling or the product that hyperbaric is, like, I think they're almost a perfect match to have, speed up recovery, repair, and restoration of whatever you're looking to if you banged your elbow and you want that to heal up faster, to if you had a surgical procedure on like your knee and you want that to heal up faster.
Yeah.
Or if you just strain something.
Strain, cut, pull, injure, bang, get surgery, surgical recovery, chronic conditions like diabetes-induced neuropathies. And there's so many things that the body is under stress and injury, and its natural approach to healing is to be stimulating DNA expression for regeneration. So we're seeing that. It's interesting from our point of view. Again, we're very science-based in terms of how we approach this. We're not just building a light product because it's got a good reputation or people think it feels good. It's like, wait a minute, We need to understand how it works. We need to design a product specific to that, which is one of the reasons, like, our product has 4 modes: red, infrared, magnetic pulse, and microvibration. At full power, with all 4 modes, it's putting out a total of 1.5 watts. That's nothing in comparison to other products out there that are boasting 20, 40, 80, 100 watts, 300 watts, and more. We go to trade shows and people have signs. Ours is the most powerful light therapy on the market. We kind of chuckle at that because excitation in physics, we know this. This is not conjecture. This is textbook. Excitation is a very delicate process. You have to whisper, right? I'll give you an example. If you take a glass of champagne made of crystal's a recurring structure, you rub the rim on the champagne at just the right speed with a very delicate touch, it starts humming, right? That humming is excitation. What happens if you push just a little too hard on the rim? In other words, too much power is applied, you overwhelm excitation, it stops. Same thing with too much light. I'll give you another example. Take a guitar string pulled tight between 2 points, take an amplifier, turn the volume gently up, and then adjust the pitch of the amplifier. The guitar string will vibrate, but at a certain pitch, it'll vibrate a lot. That's called excitation. Add excitation, if you then turn up the volume, the guitar string will stop vibrating. So power actually undermines excitation. And so 1.5 watts total, like, we design our product to be the least possible amount of power to stimulate that excitation process. And there's really nothing else like it out there.
Well, I'm glad you used the guitar string analogy. And it's like any type of instrument.
Mm-hmm.
If you tune it the wrong way and you went up and it was Led Zeppelin playing Stairway to Heaven and they were like tuned off, you would tell.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be the same song.
Yeah. There's a lot of research about, so you were talking about vibrational sciences.
Yeah.
Really, really cool stuff out there. Talking about guitar, it's been demonstrated that guitarists who are playing together in harmony, jamming out, improvising together, playing music, jazz, whatever, their brain waves begin to synchronize.
Yeah.
Right. Very interesting
It's
studies.
impossible not to.
Very interesting studies on that. So excitation in physics is a very, very important concept. And really, that's at the bottom of what causes light therapy to be effective. Too much power, you're not getting any excitation. Too much power, you're basically only getting thermal effect, which is good. But to get the best effect, you've got to go low power, very, very precise. It's a whisper, not a shout.
Well, it's like, I mean, even on my phone right now, if I go and listen to a podcast and I put the volume up too loud, they'll send me a little report saying, listening to this device at this level is not good for your hearing.
That's nice.
Yeah, but I think that what we have to think about is anything that's not tuned and balanced the way that it's supposed to be delivered to people, it doesn't either sound good, it doesn't feel good, or it's not effective.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm picking up here is like, if it's not at a specific frequency, like a specific chiropractic adjustment, it doesn't do what it's supposed to, and it's a gross manipulation. And if you do the same thing with the wrong type of frequencies for light and vibration, it's not going to do anything. It's a gross manipulation and not a specific delivery. And big thing I was curious about is the dosing. And you've already answered that for me, because you're telling me if you dose people with the proper amount, then you get the maximum benefit with the least amount of influence from energy. And it's tuned for someone's body.
Here's a controversial statement. I mean, I'm not trying to provoke any debates, but the very concept of dosing implies absorption of light and conversion to kinetic and thermal energy. Yeah. Because the stimulation of excitation, the molecular engagement and molecular excitation, is not about absorption. It's not. It's about the lowest possible intensity with the right frequency parameters. And it's not about the molecule absorbing energy. It's about the energy itself causing the excitation at the molecular level. I'll give you another example, bridge, right? You could YouTube this and look for bridge collapse due to wind and traffic vibration, right? So you got a bridge and it's sitting there. Bridges are constantly vibrating, traffic, cars driving across, wind blowing. But there can come a point where the vibrational energy being absorbed by the bridge hits a certain frequency, and the bridge will literally start going crazy. And in many cases, bridges have flown apart based on the power released by excitation. So excitation is a very, very, very gentle whisper. It's a very delicate process, but when it comes at the right frequency, that tends to trigger the natural structural frequency of matter. That matter goes a little wiggly. That's why it's called excitation. It gets excited. But like I said, our device at full power is 1.5 watts. If it's much more than that, you pivot. You're overwhelming the excitation process. You're actually not having any excitation effect, and you pivot and become thermal effect.
Yeah, and so everybody kind of understands this. If I'm making a great analogy here, it's like flooding the engine of your car, like putting the gas on too much. You're just burning more energy and not getting anywhere.
I mean, there's so many. Yeah, there's a lot of that in our lives where it's untrue that because red is good, more is better.
Yes.
The opposite is actually true. The least amount that you can deliver at precisely the right frequency is far superior, right?
You're talking chiropractic now.
Well, and I love that analogy too, right? Because it's not about beating up the spine. It's about very precise, very intelligent adjustment at a very micro level. And
I think you're right.
And that's definitely a case that applies here. And at the end of the day, I get excited to nerd out about the science, and I can go like, we've hardly scratched the surface. But what really matters are the results. And that's the most gratifying thing about what we do. We have over 30,000 customers. We have over 1,200 clinical partners, most of which are chiropractors. We are just inundated with stories of lives improved. Young people, old people, active people, ill people, chronic people, they write letters thanking us profusely and telling us how this has changed their life. That's what energizes us. And listen, with 1,200 clinical partners, none of them just took our device and decided to use it. Every one of them put it through the paces, kicked the tires, tested. Some of them have conducted pretty in-depth clinicals, and they've come out like, wow, this is amazing. It's helping my clients, my patients so much. That's why we have so many partners, because they see with their own eyes how it's changing lives and really helping people, whether it's a grandmother wanting to be active with the grandkids, or whether it's a young athlete who's been injured and wants to recover more fully and quickly, everything in between. Those are the most gratifying things for us.
I love that you're backed in science, and you're backed in research, and you're backed in product development, and your tech. We haven't even talked about your past career working in so many tech fields, but I know people are probably curious about getting one of these or participating with you. So let's talk about the specials that you have at dnavibe.com, and also how, if the people are curious to become a clinical partner with you.
Yeah, thank you for that opportunity. We are running some amazing holiday specials now, but before I go into that, I'll just say that from the beginning of the company, we've always said, look, our mission is to help make the world a better place, one better life at a time. And it's about helping people really do more of what they love, whatever that happens to be. Now, because we take that very seriously, if somebody tries it and it does not help them, we give a full 100% refund. We even pay for return shipping. And that seems very logical, because if your mission is to help and you don't help, then how can you justify keeping their money? So without hesitation, we provide that full refund, because that's what our business is about. That's what our heart is all about. So know that going in. Now, we're offering 3 product sales. We're offering 4 discounted bundles. They are offered on a limited availability basis. So if anybody's interested, you can check us out at dnavibe.com. But if you want to unlock the holiday specials, send an email to support@dnavibe, and we'll give you an invitation with those special discounts. We don't generally publicize those discounts because they're pretty strong. And so, support at dnavibe.com and just say, please send me the specials.
That's cool. So clinical partners, is that how they get on to become a partner with you too?
So clinical partners, like I said, we have at least 1,200 and the number keeps growing. More than half of them are chiropractors. We do have a lot of physical therapists, sports medicine. We have a lot of professional team physicians. We've got all kinds of partners. And the way we work with them is many of them will sign up for our wholesale program where they'll be able to buy product at a severe discount, wholesale. They'll use them in practice, and then they'll also refer them to their patients. Right now, chiropractors are super, super fun to work with. They always have some really amazing ideas. And I think that's part of the profession, right? You think with an innovative mindset and you're unconstrained, you're out of the box. And so, I'll show you an example. Like it was chiropractors who came up with the idea of putting a branded QR code on the sleeve. The product comes in one of these fabric sleeves. And what they do is many of them, they'll take a couple jazz bands with their branded QR code. They'll put them in the lobby of their practice and tell people, hey, show up 10, 15 minutes before your appointment and do some pre-treatment, right? Just 10, 15 minutes will improve range of motion, reduce stiffness, reduce pain sensitivity, give the person a better overall treatment experience. But guess what else is happening? They're experiencing the product. They're saying, wow, this is feeling good. I like it. They scan the QR code, they buy a product, and boom, happy patient, happy doctor. Doctors can make, as much as $100 a shot. So everybody's winning in this, and that works phenomenally. Then, the product gets shipped with the doctor's brand and QR. That gets to the home. Now the neighbors see it, they scan it, and it propagates itself. It's very interesting. And we've had, I'd say, surprising results. We've had a lot of doctors call us and say, hey, there must be a mistake. You've sent me money and I haven't done anything. Isn't that the dream? We remind them, you don't have to do anything. You've got a couple products in your lobby and they're doing the work for you, right? So it's a sensational program. I don't think we've ever lost a partner. We just keep growing and gaining more and more partners. So 1,200 and counting. It's an amazing program. As a company, we love to thrive with people. We are not greedy. We're not selfish. We want the patient to have the best possible experience. They always get a better price through their doctor. So you buy from a chiropractor that works with us, you're going to get a better price than if you buy it from us right off the bat. Number two, they get the guarantee, right? The partner gets a very, very nice reward with that process, and then we thrive as they thrive. So it's a great program. Anybody who would like to explore that or become a partner, you can find out. It's so easy. It takes a few minutes to get up and running. You can reach us at infinity@dnavibe.com. Again, infinity@dnavibe.com, just like it sounds. That's pretty straightforward.
Well, Perry, we've come to the edge of the show. I appreciate you talking so much about your product, and we got a good chance to discuss frequencies of life, frequencies of healing, and what it sounds like when we hear good music a little bit. So I appreciate you being our guest on 463. And let's make a better place, make the world a better place by making a better life, one better life at a time. I think is a really cool way of looking at a product, and creating a better world by creating better people is something I can get behind. So appreciate you being on with me today, and I want you to have a phenomenal rest of your day, and I look forward to seeing you real soon.
Thank you much, Jim. It's been a pleasure, and thank you to your audience as well. Appreciate what you guys do as a profession.
Yes, sir. And I'll talk to you, and have a great day now, okay?
All right. Thank you. You too.
All right.
Thanks for listening to Chirohustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.